Hey everyone! Before the story starts, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, it really helps a lot. Now, sit back and enjoy the story. You don't love me. You love the check with 6 zeros. When your wife inherits $33 million, you'd think the party would be for you. Spoiler alert, it's not. My name is Nate Porter, and I'm currently standing in my own kitchen. Well, technically Vanessa's kitchen now. Watching her throw the most obscene celebration this side of a Roman orgy. 3 weeks since her father's funeral and she's acting like she won the lottery, which I suppose she did. Nate, more champagne. Vanessa's voice cuts through the music like a rusty blade. She's draped across our Italian leather sofa, her designer dress riding up her thighs, surrounded by her usual crew of parasites. Leah and Serena, her college sorority sisters who never quite grew up, giggle at everything she says like trained seals. I grab another bottle of Dom Perignon from the wine fridge, the one that costs more than most people's monthly salary, and make my way through the crowd. Our Connecticut mansion is packed with people I don't recognize. All of them treating me like the help, which apparently I am. Here you go, I say, setting the bottle on the crystal table. Vanessa doesn't even look at me. She's too busy staring at Tyler Grant like he owned her. Our pool maintenance guy. 25 years old, all abs and no brains. The kind of guy who thinks philosophy is a type of pasta sauce. Ty baby, come sit closer. Vanessa purr, patting the cushion beside her. Her wedding ring, the one I saved 6 months to buy, catches the light as she gestures. Tyler grins and slides over, his hand immediately finding her bare thigh. Right there in front of everyone. In front of me. Vanessa, I say quietly. Maybe we should what? She finally looks at me, her blue eyes glazed with champagne and malice. Should care what the help thinks. Leah snorts with laughter. Serena raises her glass in a mock toast. To Vanessa. Finally free to do whatever she wants. The crowd cheers. I stand there like an idiot, watching my wife of 8 years make out with a kid young enough to be her little brother. Tyler's hands roam freely and she moans loud enough for the whole party to hear. Jesus, Vanessa, I mutter. She breaks away from Tyler's mouth long enough to focus on me again. You know what, Nate? I don't need you anymore. Daddy left me everything. The house, the money, the cars, the boats, everything. So, why don't you find somewhere else to live? Or better yet, why don't you just die? I honestly don't care which. The party goes quiet for about 3 seconds, then erupts in drunken laughter. Someone starts chanting, Jerry, Jerry, like we're on a talk show. That's when Big Frank appears at my elbow. Frank used to be a cop before Vanessa hired him as our security chief. 6 feet 4 inches, 250, with hands like hawks and the personality of a parking meter. Time to go, Nate, he says, not unkindly. This is my house, too, Frank. Not anymore, buddy. I look around the room one more time. At my wife, who's already back to swapping. Spit with the pool boy. At her friends filming the whole thing on their phones, at the strangers drinking my liquor and laughing at my humiliation. Fine, I say, but this isn't over. Vanessa pulls away from Tyler again, lipstick smeared, eyes wild. Oh, it's over, baby. It's so completely over. Frank escorts me to the front door like I'm some kind of criminal. I grab my truck keys from the bowl in the foyer, the ceramic bowl Vanessa's mother gave us for our wedding back when she still pretended to like me. Outside, the night air is crisp and clean. A relief after the suffocating atmosphere inside. I can hear the party continuing without me. Music thumping, voices raised in drunken celebration. I sleep in my truck that night, parked at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. The vinyl seats smell like motor oil and regret, but at least they don't leak much. The next morning, my phone rings at 7:30. Harold Kessler, the family attorney. Nate, we need to talk. Did you actually read your father-in-law's will? What do you mean? Meet me at my office in an hour. And Nate, bring a copy of your marriage certificate. I drive back to the house to grab the certificate from our filing cabinet. The place looks like a war zone. Empty bottles everywhere. Furniture overturned. Something that might be vomit on the Persian rug. Vanessa is nowhere to be seen. Probably passed out upstairs with her boy toy. Kessler's office is downtown in one of those old brick buildings that screams old money and billable hours. Harold himself is 70-something, sharp as a razor with the kind of dry humor that comes from 40 years of dealing with rich people's problems. Sit down, Nate. He slides a folder across his mahogany desk. Page 17, Section 4, Subsection C. I read it twice before it sinks in. Holy crap. Indeed. Kessler leans back in his leather chair, finger steepled. Your late father-in-law was quite specific. Vanessa inherits the full estate only if she produces legitimate heirs with her current husband. That's you. Within 18 months of his death. Otherwise, everything goes to the American Cancer Society. But she threw me out. Yes, I heard about the party. Half of Greenwich heard about the party. He pulls out his phone and shows me a video. It's Vanessa and Tyler going at it like teenagers. This was posted on Instagram at 11:47 last night. I stare at the screen. She's screwed monumentally unless she can convince you to reconcile. As if on cue, my phone buzzes. Text message from Vanessa. We need to talk about us. I show Kessler the message. He chuckles. What are you going to do? He asks. I think about last night. The humiliation, the laughter, the way she looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. I'm going to make her beg. Vanessa shows up at the diner where I'm having breakfast, looking like she hasn't slept in days. Her usually perfect blonde hair is a mess. Her makeup is smudged and she's wearing yesterday's dress. The Walk of Shame, Suburban Connecticut edition. Nate, honey. She slides into the booth across from me, her voice syrupy sweet. I think we need to talk about our marriage. I take a sip of my coffee. It's terrible, but it's honest terrible. Not like the pretentious crap she serves at her parties. What about it? I was thinking maybe we rushed into this separation thing. Maybe we should give us another chance. Us. I set down my cup. There is no us, Vanessa. You made that pretty clear last night. What was it you said? Oh, right. Find somewhere else to live or die. Her face flushes. I was drunk. People say stupid things when they're drunk and when they're sober. What's your excuse for Tyler? She has the decency to look ashamed, but only for about 2 seconds. That was a mistake. A stupid, meaningless mistake. Looked pretty meaningful from where I was standing. Nate, please. She reaches across the table and puts her hand on mine. Her skin is soft, manicured, the hands of someone who's never worked a day in her life. I love you. I've always loved you. Nothing gets me in the mood like a woman who just threw me out of my own house. But I play along. What about Tyler? Tyler who? She bats her eyelashes. Baby, you're the only man I want. It's a performance worthy of a daytime soap opera. I almost applaud. I need time to think about it. I say. Her mask slips for just a moment. And I see the panic underneath. $33 million will do that to a person. Of course, she says. Take all the time you need, but don't take too long, okay? I miss you. She leans across the table and kisses me. Tastes like desperation and Listerine. After she leaves, I call my buddy Ray Martinez. Ray runs a bar called The Anchor in downtown Hartford, and he's one of the few people who knew me before I became Mr. Vanessa Porter. She's planning something, I tell him over the phone. Of course, she is. Question is, what? I don't have to wait long to find out. 2 nights later, I'm at The Anchor nursing a beer and watching the Yankees lose when this woman slides onto the stool next to me. She's stunning. Long dark hair, green eyes, the kind of curves that make traffic accidents happen. Buy a girl a drink, she asks. Her name is Monica. She's 28, and she works in marketing for some pharmaceutical company in Stamford. We talk for an hour about everything and nothing. She's funny, smart, and she seems genuinely interested in what I have to say. Ray catches my eye from behind the bar and makes a subtle gesture. Something's off. But I'm 3 beers in, and Monica's hand is on my thigh, and I'm not thinking with my brain anymore. Want to get out of here, she whispers in my ear. We go to a motel on the Berlin Turnpike, the kind of place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. Monica's enthusiastic, athletic, and very thorough about making sure we use protection. She even insists on disposing of it herself afterward. I'm very environmentally conscious, she says with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. I wake up the next morning with a hangover that feels like someone used my skull for batting practice. Monica is gone, but she's left a note on hotel stationery. Thanks for a wonderful evening. Maybe we'll see each other again soon. Zoxum. I've always wanted to be a donation donor, just not like this. Ray is waiting for me when I get back to the Anchor that afternoon. You messed up, he says without preamble. What are you talking about? He shows me a photo on his phone. Monica sitting in a corner booth talking to Serena Williams. Not the tennis player. Vanessa's friend, Serena Williams, the pharmaceutical heiress who's been trying hard to impress my wife since college. I took this about an hour before she made her move on you. The pieces click into place. Son of a witch. They played you, brother. Question is, what are they planning to do with your DNA? I don't have to wonder for long. 3 weeks later, Vanessa calls me practically singing with joy. Nate, the most amazing thing has happened. Let me guess. You're pregnant. How did you guess? Isn't it wonderful? We're going to have a baby. I do the math in my head. The timeline fits barely. If she got herself artificially inseminated with my stolen genetic material right after Monica's collection mission, she'd be about 3 weeks along. That's great, Vanessa. Really great. I know. And it means we can be a real family now. You, me, and our little miracle. Our little miracle, right? More like our little insurance policy worth $33 million. We should celebrate, I say. Oh, we will, baby. We absolutely will. But first, I have some investigating to do. Finding Monica isn't hard. Vanessa's crew isn't exactly known for their criminal mastermind skills. A few phone calls to pharmaceutical companies in Stamford, a description of a gorgeous brunette in marketing, and I have a name, Monica Reeves. She works for Hartwell Pharmaceuticals, specializing in fertility treatments. How convenient. I hire a private investigator named Jill Chen, former Hartford PD, now freelance, with a reputation for getting results. She's 40-some, tough as nails, and charges $200 a day plus expenses. Your wife hired this woman to seduce you and steal your genetic material? Jill asks, reviewing the photos Ray took. That's my theory. It's a good theory. Stupid, but good. If we can prove it, your wife is looking at fraud charges, maybe worse. I don't want her arrested. I want something better. Revenge, justice. Jill smiles. I like you already. It takes her 3 days to crack Monica. Turns out Monica has a gambling problem and owes some very unfriendly people a lot of money. When Serena approached her with a $10,000 offer to seduce a mark and collect a biological sample, she jumped at it. Jill gets it all on tape. Look, I'm not proud of what I did, Monica says, sitting in her cramped apartment in New Haven. But I needed the money, and they said it was harmless. Just a prank between friends. A prank. I'm wearing a wire, courtesy of Jill's equipment stash. That's what Serena called it. She said your wife wanted to play a joke on you, get back at you for something. I didn't ask questions. What exactly did you do with the sample? Monica looks uncomfortable. I put it in a special container Serena gave me. She said it had to stay cold, so I used a little cooler with ice packs. Met her at a Starbucks in West Hartford the next morning and she paid you cash. $10,000 just like she promised. Did she say what they were planning to do with it? No. And I didn't want to know. Look, I'm sorry, okay. I know it was wrong, but I was desperate. I almost feel bad for her almost. Monica, I need you to do something for me. What? Call Serena. Tell her you're worried about getting caught. See if she'll admit what they did with the sample. I can't do that. She'll know something's up. She'll know something's up anyway when this all comes out. But if you help me now, I'll make sure you're protected. Monica thinks about it for a long moment. What kind of protection? Legal immunity and maybe some financial compensation for your troubles. How much? More than Serena paid you. She makes the call that afternoon with Jill recording every word. Monica, what's wrong? Serena's voice is sharp, suspicious. I'm freaking out, Serena. What if he finds out what we did? He won't find out. How could he? You did your job. I did mine. Vanessa's pregnant. Everybody's happy. Pregnant with his. Of course, with his. That was the whole point, wasn't it? She needed to get knocked up by her husband to keep the inheritance, but he wasn't cooperating. So, we found another way. Jesus, Serena, that's like a serious violation or something. It's not a serious violation. It's resourcefulness. And it worked. Vanessa's going to have her baby, keep her money, and everyone wins. What about her husband? What about him? He gets to be a daddy. Most men would be thrilled, but he doesn't know. And he never will. As long as you keep your mouth shut. You got paid. I got paid. Vanessa got what she needed. End of story. I don't know, Serena. This feels really wrong. Monica, listen to me very carefully. You took money to seduce a married man and steal his genetic material. If this comes out, you're going to prison. So, I suggest you forget this conversation ever happened. The line goes dead. Jill grins at me. That's what we call a confession. Is it enough? It's a start, but we need more. We need to prove they actually used your DNA to impregnate your wife. How do we do that? We get Vanessa to admit it. She's not going to admit anything. She will if she thinks she's safe. If she thinks she's won. Jill is right. Vanessa is feeling confident. Maybe overconfident. She's been calling me every day talking about baby names and nursery colors. Acting like the perfect wife to be. I have an idea. I tell Jill. I'm listening. What if I told Vanessa I knew about Monica? But I was okay with it. You mean pretend you're fine with being betrayed by a turkey baster? Exactly. Make her think she's so smart she outsmarted me completely. Get her to brag about it. That could work. Women like your wife, they love to gloat. Then let's give her something to gloat about. I call Vanessa that evening. Honey, I need to see you. There's something we need to discuss. Of course, baby. Come over anytime. Actually, I was thinking somewhere more private. How about dinner tomorrow night? Just the two of us. That sounds wonderful. Where? The Riverside Inn. 8 o'clock. The Riverside Inn is a fancy restaurant in East Hartford. The kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters who describe every dish like it's a work of art. It's also loud enough to mask the sound of a recording device. Vanessa shows up looking like $1 million, literally. Her dress probably costs more than most people's cars, and she's glowing with that special radiance that comes from being pregnant and filthy rich. You look beautiful. I tell her. And I mean it. Whatever else Vanessa is, she's not ugly. Thank you, baby. You clean up pretty nice yourself. We order wine, sparkling cider for her, bourbon for me, and make small talk about the weather, the restaurant, and anything but the elephant in the room. Finally, over dessert, I make my move. Vanessa, I know about Monica. She freezes, fork halfway to her mouth. What? The woman at the bar, the setup, the whole thing. Her face goes white, then red, then white again. Nate, I can explain. You don't need to explain. I understand. You understand. You needed to get pregnant to keep the inheritance. I wasn't exactly being cooperative, so you found another way. It's actually pretty clever. She stares at me like I've grown a second head. You're not angry. Why would I be angry? The baby is still mine, biologically speaking. And you're still my wife. We're going to be rich, Vanessa. Richer than we ever dreamed. So, you're okay with this? I'm more than okay with it. I'm impressed. You saw a problem and you solved it. That takes guts. Vanessa's relief is palpable. She actually starts to tear up. Oh, Nate, I was so scared you'd hate me if you found out. Hate you? Baby, I love you more than ever. You fought for our future, for our family. It was Serena's idea, really. She said we could hire someone to, and then use the sample to get me pregnant. It was like artificial insemination, but more fun. She giggles at her own joke. I smile and nod even as the recorder in my jacket pocket captures every word. How did you find Monica? Serena knew her from somewhere. Said she was perfect for the job. Pretty enough to get your attention. Desperate enough to go through with it. And the actual procedure. We went to this clinic in New Haven. They specialize in fertility treatments. It was actually pretty easy once we had the material. Amazing. You thought of everything. I had to, baby. $33 million was at stake. Our $33 million. Exactly. We toast with our glasses. Her cider, my bourbon, and I think about how good this is all going to sound in court. Harold Kessler listens to the recording 3 times before he speaks. This is comprehensive, he says finally. Is it enough? It's enough to destroy her legally speaking. Paternity fraud, conspiracy, theft of genetic material. She's looking at serious civil liability, possibly criminal charges. What about the inheritance? Void. The will specifically requires legitimate conception within the bounds of marriage. Artificial insemination using stolen genetic material doesn't qualify. So, the money goes to charity unless we can prove she conceived naturally with you after the fraud was discovered. I think about that for a moment. What if I were to reconcile with her for real this time? Kessler raises an eyebrow. That's a dangerous game, Nate. Maybe, but it might be worth it for $33 million for revenge. The next morning, I call Vanessa. I've been thinking about what we discussed last night, I tell her. And I want to come home. The silence stretches for so long. I think the call dropped. Vanessa, I'm here. I'm just surprised. Why? We're having a baby. We should be together. Of course. Yes. When? How about today? Today. But what about your things? What things? You threw me out with nothing but the clothes on my back. Remember? Another pause. Right. Well, we'll go shopping. Buy you a whole new wardrobe. Sounds good. See you this afternoon, Nate. Yeah. I love you. I love you, too. The lie tastes like ashes in my mouth. I move back into the house that afternoon. Vanessa has clearly been busy. Tyler's pool maintenance equipment is gone. The guest bedroom has been converted into a nursery. And there are pregnancy books scattered around the living room like evidence of domestic bliss. I got rid of Tyler, she says without being asked. Good. And I told Leah and Serena we need some space. Just you and me and the baby. That's very thoughtful. She shows me around like I'm a prospective buyer rather than someone who lived here for 8 years. The master bedroom has been redecorated in soft pastels. The kitchen has been stocked with organic everything. And there's a new hot tub on the back patio. For your back, she explains, I know how hard you work. It's like living in a museum exhibit. The happy suburban couple circa 2024. We have dinner together. Organic salmon, quinoa salad, sparkling water, and make polite conversation about baby names and college funds. Vanessa is trying so hard to be the perfect wife that it's almost painful to watch. I was thinking maybe we could go away for a weekend, she says over dessert. A baby moon before I get too big to travel. That sounds nice. Where? The Hamptons, maybe. Or Napa Valley. Somewhere romantic. Sure, whatever you want. Really? Just like that. Vanessa, I told you I'm committed to making this work. She reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. I'm so lucky to have you. If only she knew. The next few weeks pass in a blur of domestic theater. We shop for baby furniture, attend prenatal appointments, and host dinner parties for Vanessa's friends, the ones who haven't been banished for their role in the Monica scheme. At one of these dinners, I meet David Chen, a federal prosecutor who specializes in fraud cases. He's married to one of Vanessa's yoga instructors, and he has the kind of sharp intelligence that makes me nervous. "So Nate," he says over coffee and brandy, "Vanessa tells me you're in construction renovation, mostly historic homes. Interesting work. Must be satisfying bringing old places back to life. It has its rewards." I imagine it does. There's something to be said for restoration, making things right again. The way he says it makes me think he knows more than he's letting on. But I just nod and change the subject. Later that night, Vanessa and I are lying in bed, separate sides, no touching, like a demilitarized zone made of Egyptian cotton. When she brings up the dinner, "David Chen seemed to like you. He seems like a good guy. He is very smart, very thorough." Meaning nothing, just that he's the kind of person who notices things. Details. What kind of details? Oh, inconsistencies, things that don't add up. I turn to look at her in the darkness. "Is there something you want to tell me, Vanessa?" "No, baby. I'm just saying we should be careful about what we say, about how we present ourselves." "Present ourselves as what?" "As a happy couple who conceive naturally and are excited about starting a family. Isn't that what we are?" "Of course, it is." But her voice has an edge to it that wasn't there before. The next morning, I call Jill. I think Vanessa's getting suspicious. About what? About me. About how easily I accepted everything. "Maybe it's time to make your move." "Not yet. I want to wait until after the baby is born. That's another 6 months." "I know, but I want to make sure the child is protected. Whatever happens between Vanessa and me, the kid didn't ask for any of this. You're a better man than most, Nate, or a more patient one. Same thing sometimes. But patience, as I'm about to learn, is a luxury I can't afford." 2 days later, I come home from a job site to find Vanessa in the living room with her mother, Ella Lehner. Ella Lehner Porter is 75 years old, 5't tall, and meaner than a snake with hemorrhoids. She's never liked me, and she's never pretended otherwise. "Nathan," she says without looking up from her tea. "We need to talk about what?" "About your future with my daughter." Vanessa looks uncomfortable. "Mom, we discussed this." "We discussed nothing, dear. You told me your version of events and I listened. Now I want to hear his version." Ella Lehner fixes me with a stare that could freeze a raging fire. "Sit down, Nathan." I sit. "My daughter tells me you've forgiven her for her indiscretion with the pool boy." "That's right." "And you're happy about the pregnancy?" "Very happy." "How happy?" "I'm not sure what you mean." "I mean, exactly how much is my daughter's happiness worth to you?" And there it is. The shakedown I've been expecting. "Mrs. Porter, I'm not sure I understand." "Oh, I think you understand perfectly. You see, Nathan, I've been doing some research about paternity fraud, about inheritance law, about what happens when someone tries to game the system." My blood turns to ice water. "I don't know what you're talking about, don't you? Because I think you know exactly what happened with that woman in the bar. I think you know exactly how my daughter got pregnant, and I think you're planning to use that knowledge to destroy her." Vanessa looks back and forth between us. Like she's watching a tennis match. "Mom, what are you saying?" "I'm saying your husband is not the forgiving saint he's pretending to be. I'm saying he's planning to take you for everything you're worth." "That's not true," I say, but my voice sounds hollow, even to me. Eleanor smiles like a shark. "Prove it." "How?" "Sign this." She slides a document across the coffee table. "It's a postnuptial agreement. You waive all claims to the inheritance. Acknowledge the child is yours regardless of the circumstances of conception and agree never to contest the terms of my late husband's will. And if I don't sign, then we'll know where you really stand, won't we?" I look at Vanessa. She's pale, frightened, caught between her mother and her husband like a mouse between two cats. "I need time to think about this." You have until tomorrow morning, Eleanor says. Sign the agreement or get out. And this time, stay out. That night, Vanessa and I don't speak. We lie in bed like strangers, each pretending to sleep while our minds race. Finally, around 3 o'clock in the morning, she breaks the silence. Are you going to sign it? I don't know. She's right, isn't she? You're planning something. I don't answer. Nate, please just tell me the truth. I turn to face her in the darkness. You want the truth? The truth is that you humiliated me in front of our friends, threw me out of our home, and tried to steal my genetic material to defraud your father's estate. The truth is that you've treated me like garbage for 8 years. And now that you need me, you want to pretend we're some kind of fairy tale couple. So, what are you going to do? I'm going to give you exactly what you deserve. She starts to cry then. Soft, broken sobs that might have moved me once upon a time. I'm sorry, Nate. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Vanessa. Then what will? I get out of bed and start getting dressed. Where are you going? To see a lawyer. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I'll wait in his parking lot until he opens. Nate, please don't do this. Think about the baby. I am thinking about the baby. That's the only reason I'm not burning this whole thing down right now. I grab my keys and head for the door. Nate, I turn back one last time. Vanessa is sitting up in bed, her hair a mess, her face streaked with tears and mascara. I love you, she whispers. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. You love having someone to blame when things go wrong. But you don't love me. That's not true. Prove it. How? Tell your mother to go to heck. Tear up that agreement. Trust me enough to work this out between us without lawyers and contracts and ultimatums. She opens her mouth, then closes it, opens it again. I can't. Then we have nothing left to talk about. I walk out and this time I don't look back. Harold Kessler surprisingly alert for a man who's been dragged out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. Eleanor Porter came to see you. He asks, pouring coffee from a machine that probably costs more than my truck. Last night with a postnuptial agreement that would basically make me Vanessa's indentured servant for life. May I see it? I slide the document across his desk. He reads it carefully, making little humming noises. This is comprehensive and completely one-sided. If you sign this, you'd have no legal recourse against anything Vanessa has done or might do in the future. Can they force me to sign it? Of course not. But they can make your life very unpleasant if you don't. More unpleasant than it already is. Kessler smiles grimly. Oh, my dear boy. You have no idea what these people are capable of when they're cornered. As if to prove his point, my phone starts ringing. Vanessa. Don't answer it, Kessler advises. The phone stops ringing, then immediately starts again, then again. She's persistent. She's desperate. $33 million will make anyone desperate. So, what do I do? You have several options. You can sign the agreement and live happily ever after as a kept man. You can refuse to sign and face whatever consequences they throw at you, or you can go on the offensive, meaning file for divorce, sue for paternity fraud, contest the will, make this whole thing so public and so ugly that they'll be begging you to make it stop. What about the baby? The baby is yours, biologically speaking. You'd have parental rights regardless of how it was conceived. My phone buzzes with a text message, then another, then 10 more in rapid succession. She's really freaking out, I observe. Good. Panic makes people sloppy, and sloppy people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that end up as evidence in court. I think about that for a moment. Harold, what would happen if I played along for a while longer? Made them think they'd won. That's dangerous. The longer you wait, the stronger their position becomes. But if I could get them to incriminate themselves further, you'd have an even stronger case. But Nate, these people aren't stupid. Ellen Porter didn't get where she is by being careless. No, but Vanessa did. And when Vanessa panics, she talks. Kessler nods slowly. What do you have in mind? I'm going to sign the agreement. That would be inadvisable. Not really sign it. Just make them think I'm going to string them along, make them confident, get them talking, and then I'm going to destroy them. I drive back to the house around noon. There are 3 cars in the driveway. Vanessa's BMW, Eleanor's Mercedes, and a black Lincoln I don't recognize. Inside mud, I find a war council in session. Vanessa, Eleanor, Serena, and a man in an expensive suit who introduces himself as Marcus Webb. Eleanor's personal attorney. Nathan, Eleanor says without preamble, I trust you've made your decision. I have, and I pull the agreement out of my jacket pocket. I'll sign it. The relief in the room is palpable. Vanessa actually sags in her chair, but I have conditions. Eleanor's eyes narrow. What conditions? First, I want to guarantee that Tyler Grant never sets foot on this property again. Done, Vanessa says quickly. Second, I want all of Vanessa's friends to publicly apologize for their role in humiliating me. That's reasonable, Webb says. Third, I want a formal acknowledgement that I am the father of this child with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Of course, Eleanor says, what else? That's it. Sign off on those 3 conditions, and I'll sign your agreement. Webb and Eleanor exchange glances. We'll need to draw up an addendum. No addendums, no additional paperwork, just a verbal agreement witnessed by everyone in this room. Verbal agreements aren't legally binding, Webb points out. I don't care about legally binding. I care about honor, about doing the right thing. It's a load of BS, but they buy it. Rich people love to think they're honorable. Very well, Eleanor says. You have my word. And mine, Vanessa adds, and mine. Serena chimes in, though nobody asked her. I make a show of reading through the agreement one more time, then reach for a pen. Actually, I say, stopping with the pen halfway to the paper. There's one more thing. What now? Eleanor snaps. I want to hear the whole story from the beginning. How you planned it, how you executed it, everything. I think I deserve to know exactly how you outsmarted me. It's an appeal to their egos, and it works perfectly. Well, Vanessa says, glancing at her mother. It really started when Daddy's will was read. For the next hour, they lay out the entire conspiracy in excruciating detail. How Eleanor suggested the paternity fraud scheme when Vanessa confessed she'd thrown me out. How Serena found Monica through her connections in the pharmaceutical industry. How they researched fertility clinics and artificial insemination procedures. How they planned the seduction down to the smallest detail. The hardest part was keeping Tyler quiet, Vanessa admits. He was so jealous when he found out what we were doing. Tyler knew, I ask. Of course, he knew. He helped set up the meeting with Monica. Made sure you'd be at that bar on the right night. And he was okay with this. He was okay with the money we paid him. Serena laughs. $20,000 buys a lot of silence. Plus, Vanessa adds, we promised him he could come back after the baby was born, and things settled down. Eleanor shoots her daughter a sharp look. Vanessa, what? Nate's going to sign the agreement. We're all friends here. I smile and nod even as the recorder in my jacket captures every word. It really is brilliant, I say. You thought of everything. We had to, Eleanor says proudly. $33 million was at stake and now it's safe. Now it's safe. I sign the agreement with a flourish, then stand up and shake hands with everyone in the room. Pleasure doing business with you, I tell Eleanor. Likewise. As I'm walking toward the door, Vanessa calls after me. Nate, where are you going to celebrate? I think this calls for a drink. Want some company? Thanks, but I think I'll celebrate alone. I have some thinking to do. About what? About our future. I drive straight to Jill's office and hand over the recorder. Please tell me you got all that, I say. She plugs it into her computer and hits play. Eleanor's voice fills the room. $33 million was at stake. Oh, we got it. Jill grins. We got all of it. What now? Now we take this to the FBI. The FBI. Wire fraud, conspiracy, theft of genetic material. This crosses state lines and involves federal crimes. Your wife and her family are about to have a very bad day. How bad? 20 to life bad. Maybe worse, depending on what else they've been up to. I think about Vanessa sitting in that living room, glowing with victory and pregnancy hormones, planning her future with Tyler and her stolen millions. Do it. The FBI raids the house at dawn the next morning. I watch from across the street as agents and windbreakers swarm the property, carrying boxes of evidence and leading people away in handcuffs. Vanessa sees me as they're putting her in the back of a federal vehicle. She screams something I can't hear over the distance in the sirens, but I can read her lips well enough. I hate you. I wave goodbye. Ella Lehner gets 10 years for conspiracy and fraud. Serena gets 7. Monica gets 3 years probation in exchange for her cooperation. Vanessa gets 15 years. Plus, she has to give birth in federal custody. The inheritance goes to the American Cancer Society just like her father intended. And me? I get my life back. 6 months later, I'm renovating a Victorian mansion in New Haven when my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. Nate Porter speaking. This is Janet Morrison from Child Protective Services. We have a baby here that might be yours. My son, because it is a son, 8 pounds 2 ounces with my eyes and Vanessa's stubborn chin, is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. What's his name? I asked the social worker. His mother named him Tyler. Well, that's going to change. I name him James after my father. James Porter, who will grow up knowing that his mother was a criminal but his father fought for him. Who will inherit not $33 million, but something more valuable. The knowledge that some things are worth fighting for. And that justice, however delayed, always comes due. Vanessa writes me letters from prison sometimes. Long rambling things full of apologies and explanations and promises to be better if I'll just give her another chance. I don't read them anymore. I have better things to do, like teaching my son to walk and talk and understand that in this world you have to earn what you get. And sometimes if you're very patient and very careful, you get exactly what you deserve. This is where the story ends. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button, share it with others.